Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. Today we are going to be looking at something a little bit different, and that is what's called an auto stacker. Technically I have done these with my slime cannons, but those are sort of limited because they have very limited range and you can't just add more like pistons to increase the range. You really limit it actually. And you have the arc, and if you put a block on top it gets rid of the arc, but then you still have very limited range. So what this is a really compact auto stacker that has a lot of range and it stacks a lot of sand. So that's really the only point of this. It's not the best thing in the world. It's really just there in case you want to if you have like a hybrid cannon but you don't have any sort of sand stacker and you need to get to like 200 blocks high. It works really well for that. The only issue with this is it fires a total of 7 TNT at a time to stack 1 sand. So if you're stacking 100 sand, they'll require 700 TNT. So that's a lot of TNT, but most people probably won't be doing that. They'll only be stacking like 20 or 30. And they'll only have a few walls to go through. So this thing is extremely useful for that reason. It may be specialized, but it is still good to have something like this in your arsenal. And also, for everyone wondering about my bigger cannons, I'm currently working on a sand compressor for my 231 shot. And that's on its way. I've just had a few issues with that. So today we're going to be looking at this, and this thing is really cool. So let's actually take a look at this thing in action. So now into firing this, all we have is a glass wall that is about 21 blocks away from the actual cannon, and it's only glass because we're not going to be blowing through it. We're only going to be stacking sand, and the only issue with this thing is it is super slow. It is actually as fast as it physically can be because it fires 1 tick before the next dispenser fires, so the next TNT that fires. So you get what I mean in a sec. So if we flick this lever, this will break his sand, that will fire off, and then this will push out and then start stacking the sand. And as you can see, it's going to start stacking the sand, but it is going to be super slow. So this thing is still firing, but one thing with this is its range. The range is actually really good. Despite only using a total of 7 TNT, the TNT is pretty much right beside the slab, so it is just going to get the maximum potential out of all the sand. It's got a tiny barrel just in case the TNT flies up, which it did originally when I did my testing, but now it hasn't because I got the timing down perfectly. And there's a few ways you can use this. You can use this at 10 blocks away, where you can have the sand be completely online. You can have it about 30 to 50 blocks away, where the sand drops by about 1 block. And then you can have it like 10 chunks away and have it drop by like 5 blocks. So you can have this on top of your actual cannon, and then you can make it so it goes in line, so you can actually fire this really long ranges if you just position it right. So as you can see, there was a tiny arc, it went down 1 block, and that gets slightly worse over longer range, but it's still really good considering how small this is. So that's pretty much how this fires. So now let's get on with the redstone. So now onto the redstone. This thing is not that complicated actually. It's essentially just a giant clock attached to a cannon, and this is the actual input. It was originally over here, but over here, if we turn this off, then it turns off the pistons straight away, which is the main part because you don't want to waste too much sand. Before there, it used to waste the TNT instead of the sand. So here it only wastes 1 sand, and then it fires really quickly. So what happens is when you turn this off, this redstone torch will turn off, which will get this pushing effect. And then this will go around this loop, which will activate all these dispensers. Then it will come down through this repeater around the back, come all the way up here. This will retract, and then this will go along and reactivate these dispensers. But what will happen is this will push when this activates. 1 tick before that, this will fire off, and then the next TNT will be dispensed 1 tick after that. So that's why we have this extra repeater here, because this takes 3 ticks to go down. So that thing fires way along there and does a really good job. So apart from that, we have a really tiny barrel. It's just this piddly wee thing, and then we've only got 2 blocks here full of water. So it's essentially right beside the actual thing. We don't need a compressor, and thanks to this thing is insanely small. It's only 5x4, which is the equivalent to my tiny hybrid cannon, which is absolutely mental. So this thing's very useful, and you will not find one that is this good or any more compact than this. So anyway, now let's get on with the tutorial. So now onto the tutorial. What you're going to need is a 5x4 area with this gold bit representing the actual cannon and barrel bit, with these two blocks being the cannon and this being the barrel bit. So what you're going to need is some building blocks, 6 redstone, 6 redstone repeaters, a redstone torch, 7 dispensers, a piston, a lever, a water source block, a slab, and then you're going to need, of course, sand and TNT. So the first thing we'll do is build the main cannon part. So what you want to do is place down dispensers like this. You don't want to place one up here, because when you place the actual slab here, if the TNT can go slightly off the side, then blow up on the slab, and that's not fun, because then rest in peace your cannon. So you want to place 3 dispensers like this, 2 more here and 2 more here. After you've done that, you want to place a block here, and then you want to place a block around the back here, and then you want to place it like a spiral going around the back until you get to this point here. This is where your piston is going to be placed. So you want to place your piston on top here and a block like so. Then you just want to cover up these blocks so that way there's nothing there. And then you want to place a block on top here. After you've done that, you just want to cover up the edge here. You do not need this bottom bit covered, but I just recommend it because that way it looks slightly nicer. And then you just want to cover it so you have a complete barrel, and it'll either be sand being here or the piston will be extended. So the barrel will be a completed barrel, so you will not have to worry about that. And after that, we have to do is place water somewhere in here. Also, this works fine on 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, really any version. It works completely fine. So anyway, what you want to do now is go around the back and place a dispenser set to vortex delay here, 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 and here. And then another one set to here. But I forgot what the actual delay was at this point. But then you want to place a redstone torch on the top there. And redstone, you want to place a block on top of here with redstone all the way along the side here. And before we do anything else, you want to destroy this block here and make sure you place a lever on the bottom here and flick it down so this thing doesn't accidentally activate. So now all you have to do is place a repeater here set to 1 and this one set to 3, and you can place a block here if you want, but I'd recommend you place glass if you do because it looks cooler then. And I recommend that you can customize cannon yourself. Mostly it's the functionality, so it'll probably look something like this when you actually build it, not like this when I'm trying to make it look quite nice. But anyway, all you have to do now is place sand on top of here and as high you really want it. And you want to place TNT in all these dispensers, and then you're good to go, and all you have to do is right click the lever to actually activate. Before you do that, I'd recommend that you actually test that this thing works by having the clock go around, and as you can see, this thing works completely fine. So anyway, now you've made yourself an auto stacker, so good job. But anyway, goodbye from TNT Madness.